Our current workforce is a couple of people short of 200 and still growing. That's about 100 up on where we were last year, this time last year. 140 of those are in the marine side. The marine logistics or marine contracting side is very big in our business at the present time. We're operating about 16 vessels, some of those around the clock, ranging from 9-metre aluminium plate boats as water taxis through to 70-metre dumb barges with 30-metre tugs hooked to them for moving around the harbour for different projects there. I'll just go back a little bit. I touched on the diversification of our key people. With the trade skills we've got and the facilities we've got, we've actually built 2 vessels for ourselves in the last couple of years. One was an aluminium landing craft. We've also built a 20-metre tug. A lot of people, anyone that's familiar with that type of industry would say, why the hell would you do that in Australia? We did the sums, and we did it better and very cost effectively by building it in-house in Australia. And we've built an asset that's potentially got a 30-year life because of the quality of build, as opposed to a 5 to 10-year life for the same capex out of somewhere like Indonesia. So yes, you can think you're getting it cheaper over there, but when you look at the quality of what you're getting and it's going to be an in-house asset, do the sums. I think there's value for money in having a look at it at home. But just to go on from that same perspective, we can build the vessels, we can maintain the vessels, we can operate the vessels, we can pull them out of the water to service them, and we've done that. When you operate in vessels, things go wrong, all right? But we're owning those facilities we've got. This is how it all fits in for us, is that a vessel can have an issue, mechanical issue or a hull issue, late in the afternoon. Providing the slip is free at the time, we can actually get that vessel out of water, repair it with our own people and have it back in service by 6 o'clock start the next morning, and it's been done on a couple of occasions. So when you're looking at your business, the synergies / diversification that you can retain in-house, you've got to weigh it up, but there's potential benefits there. How do we achieve growth? Plan it. Strategic planning and business planning. I separate the two in my mind. But once you plan it, that's not the end of it. You can't just say, right, we've got a beaut plan. You know, you've got to review that plan, and you've got to go back and you've got to refine it, and you've got to believe in your plan. You know, as I indicated, I put 4 years into a business plan before I went anywhere with it. Things that you should seriously consider within that, and I'm sure everybody in this room has considered all of this stuff, if not is already doing it. But the particular areas you want to go so you don't get lost is look at your market, look at your clients, look at your services, and look at your people. You must consider those. What are the challenges with this? Rapid growth brings risk, huge risk. Are you biting off more than you can chew? Are you stepping into somewhere you're not yet geared up to manage, be it internally or externally? In the 7 years since Mipec was incorporated, I've deliberately paused our growth on 3 occasions for an extra year. Up until 12 months ago, we'd had an annualised growth in sales of over 140% year on year. But 3 times, as I said, in that 7-year period, I said, pull up, pull up. We keep going like that, we're going to trip over and it's going to hurt big time. So be aware of it. Just the opportunities may be there, weigh it up before you leap in and take all of it. What have we done? We've significantly improved our operations. Something I mentioned yesterday when I set Mipec up 7 years ago, but prior to that, to be eligible for major projects, I used to be reluctant to take on the HSE requirement or the load that I believed it imparted. And I think at that time the workforce was a little reluctant to embrace it with you as well. It's not an if you want to go there, it's you must go there, and you need to take it from the top down and embrace this. The extra S in there, for those that aren't familiar, is probably a petrochemical or LNG related topic, and that's health, safety, security and environment. They are very big in the LNG and hydrocarbon industry on their security, and that's why we've embraced that, because at the moment they're potentially one of our largest clients or one of our largest industry sectors. But for those that are still reluctant to fully embrace a HSE policy and system, I don't believe you can fob it off anymore. Embrace it and it will work in your benefit. Engage your key people. Make sure they know where you're going. Make sure they know they don't need the detail of your business plan, but they need to know where you're going so that they can run with you. Engage your clients. Make sure they understand you, but more importantly, make sure you understand them. Try to get them in a position where they're happy to drop in for a coffee and say, we've got some real issues. Let them open up and give you a bigger picture instead of just sending you a tender document that says, oh, can you make me a ladder? Well, what's the ladder for? Come down and have a coffee. Where's the ladder for? How are you going to get it there? Get your client engaged in your business, but become part of theirs. That's something, particularly over the last few years, and particularly with LNG. I'll go back to the point of opportunities. Mipec were very fortunate in getting some opportunities to be one of the first Gladstone companies. I think with one of the LNG proponents, we were the first company to hold a contract with, I think it was the BG Group at that time, and they've amalgamated, or they bought QGC and became the Queensland Gas. But we actually held contracts with BG out of the UK in the early days. We supported all of the 3 LNG proponents in Gladstone with their initial feed stages, their geotech investigations over water, on island and things like that. So we had the opportunity to grow with the actual proponents or the owners prior to them getting their EPCM contractors involved. So we knew what the proponents expected of us with HSSE, with project delivery, and they realised we weren't up to their standard. But when they realised the commitment was there to grow with them, they embraced us, and it's been nothing but good since. So make sure your people and your clients, and even their clients, know where you are and what you're doing. And employ more key people. I've tried it, you cannot do it all yourself. All right? There's not enough hours in the day. As I said to the people in Gladstone yesterday, I'm only 25 years of age. I've been trying to do it all myself. Didn't get away with it here either. Where do we sit in the supply chain? I don't know whether it's good or bad, but we're actually a tier 1, a tier 2 and a tier 3, depending on what sort of services we're providing. So we understand very well the frustrations of if we're a tier 2 and maybe we're working 4 Goldings on something, we fully understand the position that they're in as a tier 1, because on some other projects we're also a tier 1 dealing direct with it. We're in a fortunate position that I'll probably come to in the security side of things, but we're working for so many different levels within, in particular, the LNG industry within Gladstone. What projects have we done? We built some link span bridges, and I don't know, it's a bit hard to explain if you're not familiar with what someone calls a link span bridge, but it's probably a trestle structure as long as this room. A couple of them bolt together and they'll drive a 70-tonne payload Moxie over the top of it from the land abutment down onto a barge and things like that. Now, we could handle that size fabrication. I think that was each of those was probably 50 tonne each, heavy structural fab. We could handle that in our own workshop, not a problem. But the client didn't want it delivered in 12 weeks, they wanted it in 6. Now, we still wanted the business. How did we do it? We went and spoke to a couple of other fabrication workshops in Gladstone that 3 years ago, or even still today, are competitors in other work, but we're all working in the same business, in the same climate. Our rates have got to be somewhere similar. You've got to have the faith in picking who that is you might play with and sit down and have a bit of a heart-to-heart. Someone's still got to retain the contractual liability, and you've got to sort that out. But we managed to do those link span bridges between us and Extreme Engineering in Gladstone. The barge modifications job there, that was potentially... It was fabricating and adding on all sorts of bits and pieces to some 70-metre barges to be used as access platforms. Now, and repairing 2 barges as well. There was potentially $5 million worth of business there that had to be executed in about 10 weeks. We subcontracted some of that out as far as Brisbane and Mackay, because most of the Gladstone shops at the time were too busy, some into Rockhampton. And we also did some on the same arrangement with Extreme Engineering. And all I'm probably trying to say there is you don't have to be that large to be able to take the job on yourself. Talk to people that you know. They may be competitors, as I said, but they're working in the same industry. If you're happy with their level of quality and the way they're going to deliver, and you can develop a relationship there, talk your business owner or your directors into giving it some consideration. It's worked for us, you know, but it's not everybody I'd leap into bed with to deliver a project. You've got to pick your target or your partner. That's what helped us to achieve the growth from that we've had, or the success we've had. We utilise the opportunities. We weigh up the opportunities. You don't leap in and take every opportunity that's there, because some of them just may not be good for where you're going. The big thing we've spent a lot of time on, and all of our key people in particular, and even down to the deckhands on some of our vessels that are water taxi, you know, they understand their clients. Over the last few years, I don't know how many thousand trips we've done from the Gladstone Marina across to Curtis Island. Taking all range of people from senior corporate directors or shareholders or whatever for various companies, down to drillers and carting the trucks over to empty the site toilets and that sort of thing. But even our deckhands understand or are able to explain to someone that's standing beside them on their vessel, oh, that's such and such a project, that's their project over there, that's their project over there, and just give them a little bit of general knowledge. And the good thing is, if you can get your people to understand your business and your clients and a little bit more about what they're doing, you start to develop culture and things like that. And I know the other guys will touch on that in a lot more detail. The final point to mention there on the key to success is make sure you deliver. It might get tough. Don't back out and let it fall over. That phone will just stop. You know, if you can create a philosophy, a culture, and yeah, you've got to weigh up the commercial risk. You know, if it's not going well, you might be going to take a hit, but the worst thing you can do is not deliver. The phone won't ring a second time. Be aware of the risks. Legal and contract risk. The potential or the value of the risk we've started to step into, or the areas of risk we've stepped into, have warranted us paying quite a bit of money for expert advice. We pay for that advice, and to date it's been very good advice. You get what you pay for. Commercial risk, that can come back to those that are going to cop the most pain within the business, the major shareholder. As long as you can get them on side, or me on side in our business, you can see how close you want to play that commercial side of the risk. You can't forget about the risk in the community. Your presence in the community, your reputation in the community. I call it social risk. It is very important. There's the risk of your rates being disclosed. In a tight market, That's potentially a concern. Just down in the local Gladstone area, it's not a tight market there at all at the moment. It's which job do I want to take on next, and how the hell can I do it? Where can I find the people? You know, but it brings with it its own problems. I'm not going into those today. There are lots of them. Quality standards. We try to do all of our fabrication to, or in excess of, the relevant standard of the specification or the scope documents for that package. We try to deliver our services better than our competitors. We also aim to be better than world's best practice. I'm sure we've all seen some things that are described as world's best practice, and we've looked at that and thought, that's pretty ordinary if that's world's best practice. So we didn't want to achieve world's best practice in any of our vision and mission statements. We want to exceed it. Quality management systems. 15 years ago, you potentially couldn't get a government contract unless you had a third-party accredited system. I believe a lot of major industry was the same in that view. Thankfully, there's been a reality check on that. But all of the contracts we've had to go for have a quality component in it, but they don't necessarily state it has to be third-party accredited. Again, that's all part of the tender package that you're going to look at. I do believe in it, having a quality management system. We have operated to one, but have never had third-party accreditation, but we will have by the end of this calendar year. We do believe, particularly with the size we've got to now, we need that just to manage ourselves. Business security. Mipec has, at the present time, good business security, but it's something I'm always deliberating. And in particular with regards to our current capabilities and our capacity. As I was starting to allude to before, we hold contracts with project owners, joint project owners, EPCM contractors, Tier 1s and Tier 2s, sometimes on the same project. So, to a large extent, I think they're probably covering each other's bases so that when one party in that chain doesn't deliver, they can grab us to come and fill that gap when someone's had a shortfall. It's probably a good position to be in to have that coverage, and it sort of lets us distance ourselves from someone else that's having a major issue with someone else in that chain. The other thing is to look at the security of your business, evaluate it, do a basic SWOT analysis. It doesn't take long, but you know, do it. And don't become paranoid about the what ifs, but write them down, think about it. What if? What if we went into a worse GFC? What if all this carry on in Europe really did go bad, and all of a sudden all of the LNG proponents pulled out of Gladstone? Where am I placed as far as business goes? And that's the sort of thing I'd weigh up there. You know, a large part of my business is currently LNG related. What if that stopped tomorrow? Where am I? And think about that when you're going into the contracts. Where could I really get hurt here? Current projects, bit of an overview of what we're doing. We're running some landing craft. We've got general service contracts, and general service contract, it's as broad as how it comes out. You know, we might get a phone call to supply a carton of toilet paper for a ablution block on the island, or we might get asked to go and purchase a new vessel for $1.5 million and man it for the next 5 years. That's how broad the scope of that general service contract is. We've got a couple of those. We run tug and barge operations for John Holland and McMahon's, landing craft for Fulton Hogan McCosker joint venture, and we're doing marine logistics support for McConnell Dow CCC, I think it is, and a gas pipeline support project. And that's what the LNG guys just call downstream. That's just in Gladstone Harbour. We're also looking at the upstream end. Plans for the future. What does Mipec's future hold? Investment in new equipment. We're potentially going to build another 20-metre tug this calendar year. Cost in excess of $3 million. We're investing in new staff. We're totally reviewing our corporate structure at the moment because of that old problem I mentioned before. Planning going forward and then being fortunate enough to achieve your 5-year goals in 2 years and do it 3 times in a row. I've sort of geared our company structure up each time for where I think we'll be in 5 years. I've no sooner finished putting those people and the positions in place then that structure's not big enough again. So I've taken a bit of a different view this time. I said, right, where are we going to be in 20 years? Potentially even a governance board in place. Let's work back and start putting some people in the slots there now. But it's not just engaging new staff, it's investing in them and making sure they're going to fit with what your company is. We're always looking for more opportunities. We've got some brilliant people. I was just saying to someone the other day, I've probably suggested to 3 people in 7 years that they were not a good fit with our company and that they might want to seek other employment. Nearly everybody else that has come and joined our company has stayed. They're still there. And you know, they were young boilermakers, some at the time. They're now our supervisors, and although they don't own a piece of it, they feel like they own a piece of it and are a piece of it. And we treat them the same way. We're always looking at more staff, more opportunities, and whether we expand into other regions. That's where our plans are. I won't go into what we're specifically doing, but there's I've just done a strategic plan. The problem we're having at the moment is finding the time within our business day to go and put the meat around things such as a strategic plan and turn it into a detailed business plan. But as I indicated earlier, I spent 4 years in the initial business plan. I review and rewrite that at least every 12 to 18 months so that it's a current live document. And because potentially, I believe probably because I put the 4 years into it at the start, it has not changed very much in what it's achieving and where it's going over that time. Okay. And I'm just a big believer that planning is what you need to do. It's ongoing planning, but get it in writing, guys, and it's something to go back to. It's something to go back to, and for me, it's worked. It's been the main